Wow, this is a lot for a lot of people. I'm so excited. I'm super excited. That's kind of cool to see how many people have like to draw all the time. I wasn't really sure what we would see, so that's kind of cool to see that. Um, so I am going to keep it kind of like simple though, just because I want to make sure anybody who just can't draw feels like it's just fun and flowy and nothing stiff and like formal or anything like that. I don't have like a fine art background. I'm just an illustrator who went with it as a child and moved on into the world with it. Um, so I'm gonna flip over my camera so that I can shoot down, and I might just make a quick adjustment just so you'll all be able to see what I'm doing and what I'm drawing. Oh, I just saw Barb pop on. Hi, Barbara. Um, so what I'm going to show you is something so simple in the fact that you can just have paper and a school pencil. In fact, this is my nephew's school pencil. You don't need a lot of crazy tools to draw or doodle or anything like that. It can be super simple and just be copy paper from your printer and a pencil. It doesn't have to be crazy. And so I'm going to show you tonight just how you could draw a heart in a way if you feel like when you draw, it just doesn't look like a heart when you're done, this technique will just kind of give you some idea that you could use certain tools to help you get there. And then once I do that, I'm going to show you another trick on my iPad. So if any of you are digital drawers in any way, like if anybody likes to draw on the iPad, I'll show you the same way I would do that on my iPad. And then we're going to take that heart and we're going to make a few different things from it so that you can just doodle and have fun with it. And then if there's some time at the end, we might try some other things. So we're staying kind of on that Galentine theme. Um, so yeah, a pencil, just super basic thing, just I'm going to use here. Um, this trick that I thought would be helpful if you're just struggling with trying to make things look perfect, you can use little tools like this. This is just a cheap template from Amazon. I think this is considered like a drafting type template. You can even use, I have my Goog on here, bottle caps for this as well because they're circle too. So any little thing around the house, you don't need anything super fancy. But to make this simple heart, all you need is just a circle and then come around and you would want to draw just a basic circle. And remember, we're sketching right now with a pencil. We're not making it perfect. And then I would move it over and just do another one on the other side. And forgive me because I'm trying to stay in camera, but also look at the same time. It's a little bit difficult. So hopefully I'm on line here. But to draw a second one around and have two hearts, basically, something like that. And then are you able to see this much? Probably not much with the pencil, can you? I don't know. We're gonna switch to the iPad in a minute, but two circles side by side, and then it's just draw a little line down. And then with that, you can come here and just sort of use that as your guide to sort of figure out how to get your heart kind of in that perfect shape. So I look at it like this. If I were sewing a pillow and then it was like a heart-shaped pillow, I would want my pillow to have like a symmetrical kind of look, like a perfect look to it. And so that's what that's going to do is give you that kind of perfect kind of symmetrical look. And then all we can do next is take something like a pen to outline that sketch. So maybe I've gone in and I've just sort of, you know, done just sketching it. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just trying to get that shape figured out. And then with my pen, which this one's a micron pen, micron pens are really great. If you're interested in doodling a lot, micron pens tend to be some of the best ones to work with because they're archival. And um, if you decide to like use paints or markers or things like that, it's not going to bleed. It's going to stay in kind of that perfect black color. But then you could just take that and go around it until you get that perfect shape. Sorry, and like again, I said, I'm not seeing very good because I'm not above. But then you would just take your eraser and sort of erase away, and you would have your cute little heart that you have that's perfect. So if you're one of those people who is I need everything to be perfect and symmetrical. This is one way you can do that using something, like I said, as simple as a bottle cap or these templates that you can get on Amazon. I think they're the drafting templates, if I'm correct, but you can get them in lots of different shapes and sizes. So if you're really looking at doing something like that, you can, look into those things. So that's how I would do a basic heart in that way. Now I want to show you how I would do it on my iPad. So if any of you are on digital, this is kind of a fun trick here to learn. Some of you who draw regularly may do that. Does anybody do that? Does anybody use their iPad to draw? Just curious. Let me get that's my Lola. She's no longer with us, but that's about how big she was. Um, so on the iPad, let me get this just right here for you all. On the iPad, I'm going to just create a new screen to work on. And you'll be able to see this probably a little bit better because it's darker and contrasty. But on the iPad in the Procreate app is what I use. And Procreate is it's a drawing tool. It's like a one-time buy-in for all the time you have it. All the updates are always included. So it's kind of worth it, especially for somebody like me who draws all the time. But in the toolbar section here, under the canvas and drawing guide, it features what you would call a symmetry for assisted drawing. And so I can choose under options if I want my symmetry to be on left and right, or if I want my symmetry to be up and down. And so for this, I'm going to do left and right. So what I can do by creating symmetry in here, I can easily now make sure I'm on my right pen here. I can easily draw on this side. And as I'm drawing, it does exactly the same thing on the other side. So now I have like that perfect heart there. So as somebody like me who does illustration all the time, this is a lifesaver for me. Having that symmetry feature, and then I don't have to waste paper. I'm just like making it perfect as I go. So creating a heart can be something like this, or it can be as easy as just doodling something fun without any symmetry. And you can do kind of fun little wonky hearts. I'm gonna try to get my camera where you can see a little better. You can do, more fat squatty hearts, little things like that. So it's all about just trying different ways to draw your heart and have fun with that. So with that, now knowing kind of that technique that doing that perfect little heart, if you will, I wanted to just show you. And again, mine's not going to be perfect because I can't see too well here on this side. Get to my eraser here. Just erase away this. So now I'm going to do, because I had mentioned before about how that perfect little heart, you could make that little heart pillow, for instance. In this particular drawing, I'm going to show you how to do, say, like a ruffled edge around it. So it's all about just having fun creating different things with your heart. And so to create that little ruffled edge, all we do is I'm going to show it up over here. We're going to create this more like kind of really loose M. It's super, super loose like that. And what we're going to do to make a ruffled edge on our heart is just come in and I'm doing a really thick line just so you can see it, just an FYI. You can do any thickness in lines. You don't have to do super thick. You could do thin, but we're just going to take that and go around our heart and leaving a little space in between like this. Now, if I had my symmetry on, it could repeat that for me, but I'm going to leave it off for you all. And I'm just going to keep doing little M's, or I call them M's. I can't remember what you really want to call them. Because if you've ever looked at like a ruffle that's been sewn on something, you can tell how there's like part of it's kind of behind and part of it's kind of forward. So we're creating that illusion here. Just little ones like this. And if you come down here and you can't get, if you find like you didn't leave enough space and say you're like, kind of weird down here, don't worry about it. Remember, fabric's not perfect the way it folds around, so just kind of go with the flow. Oops. I'm going to unplug this because sometimes plugging it in causes it to do weird things on me. So we're just going to go around. I'm going to go up here. We're creating just something that looks like that to start. So now once everybody catches up, we'll do the next part of this, of our little ruffled heart, and we'll just come in and make little connections that sort of dip in between each ruffle. And you can kind of see it coming together now, that little ruffled edge, if you will. Oops. Hello. Another thing I love about the iPad is I can just hit the undo button. I don't have to erase it. So it's a little nicer for that reason. Um, but you can do this with paper, you can do this with pen, you can do this with colored pencil. That one I probably should have drawn a little closer, but it's okay. Nothing's wrong with what you do. So that's kind of like your, actually, that's going to bug me. So let me just fix that. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. I'm just gonna fix my little line there a little bit. Okay, so now you have like a ruffled edge that goes around your heart. So the next thing, just to kind of finish that off, is to take your pen or your pencil, whatever you're drawing with, and to come in, and then you would just add small little flicks kind of here and there. And it just looks like it's been gathered. Like if you've sewn it to the edge of your fabric, you make this little, ruffled kind of edge to it like that. I think when I started drawing, and I would, anytime I do fabric or like, a dress where it has little ruffles or little edges, I would always struggle trying to visualize it. And this little trick here just made it so much easier. It's just like break it apart, do one little piece at a time, and then come back in and make your little edges. And so the next thing you would do is something kind of fun with it, and you can start decorating. So you could even go so far as to, I'm going to make my pen just a hair smaller, but you can come in and just do little scallop edges around your lace if you want to. So you can make something like that to add some decoration. So that's one thing you could do. You could even come in and so much as to take a lighter weight line or another color if you're working in color and add little stripes kind of to the edges of your lace, for instance, just kind of come around like that. So you can actually do a lot with the lace part of this or the ruffled edge part of this. It's really one of those things where it's just like you can have a whole page of hearts and a lot of different ways you could decorate it when you're done. I'm going to go ahead and take those off for now. Another thing you could do with it to add some kind of character is draw little stitch lines around the edges on the inside like that as you go all the way around. And you could end up creating like this fun little design with it. And then of course there's adding color. So you can add color to it as well. So I'm just going to take out my stitches for a second just so I can give you a better visual when I'm adding some color. One of the things that you can do is go with let's do like a pink color, like a real light pink in the center. So maybe you color, oops, I probably did that incorrectly. Oh, I have these on two layers. Sorry. My bad, my bad, my bad. As I'm thinking out loud here, I'm just gonna put these together. Oops, hello. I'm having a very hard time seeing what I've got going on here. There it is. So something like that, you could do like a light pink inside, and then you could come in with your markers and do kind of a more darker pink for the edges. And so I just encourage you to just like take your little ruffled cute heart and do all kinds of little, fun colors to it and make it kind of your own. Just to show you, this was one I did when I can actually see a little better, when I can actually have it in front of me a little closer, where I took and did a ruffled heart edge. I did some little polka dots in the center, And then I did my ruffle a little differently on this one and wrote best gals in it because it's Galentine's Day. I thought that was cute. And then another thing to do is just to take your heart and instead of making a solid line around it, as you could do kind of a lace design like this right here. I don't know if you all can see that very well. Um, but to do something like that, we would just, let's turn off these. What I tend to do is would draw my heart first, do a layer above it, and then that way I can come in and start, and this is where I would love to use my symmetry because these little scallops sometimes can take the, a lot out of me, but um, I can start drawing little scallops all the way around. And then what you can do on your item is remove the inside line. So one thing I could tell you, if you're working with paper and pencil, is you could take a piece of paper, draw your regular heart, and if you don't have a light box or something to shine light through, you could tape it to like a sliding glass door and then put another sheet on top of it and let that light shine through, and then use that as a way to trace on a new sheet of paper your scallop lines around it. And so on something like this, I could remove it, and by the time I was done, I would have, a scallop heart. But if you're working with paper and you don't want to invest in like a light box to help make it easy to trace through, tape it to your sliding window or something, just let some light shine through and you'll get the perfect way to layer and trace and kind of refine things. That's one thing I used to do a lot of when I worked with paper exclusively and pens and pencil. I would draw all my sketches out first, and then I would start out with on the window, and then eventually I purchased a light box. I think you can even get a light box for like 25 bucks. They're not too expensive. And they just will let that light shine through and make it super easy to go over the top and refine my sketch with my ink pens. And then I can go ahead and start coloring them in. And the cool thing, like I said, about the microns, once I've done it with that, then I can use my markers, like the ones that Sophie is giving away for us, like those types of markers. Makes it super easy to color in and not worry about your pen bleeding into anything. It really holds into the paper really well. So yeah, that's kind of the first heart. That's the first one. And you can have, I mean, you can have so much fun adding polka dots, adding stripes, adding flowers to it if you want to draw little flowers. Anything you really want to do to make it kind of your own, you can have a lot of fun with it. So, and then I have a blank one. I'm happy to send that all to you as well if you want that. Maybe Sophie can give that out to everybody. If you want to color it in or you want to use it as something to trace and kind of practice with, you're more than welcome to take that and do that too. So I don't know. I find myself drawing ruffles a lot lately. I don't know why. I just loved that whole like patchwork sewing trend right now that's really hot. That's kind of like where I like to do things these days. Um, so that's the first heart that we are going to work with, just to give you an idea. The second one, I want to do something kind of a little more fun. When you did the poll, Sophie, you showed some people like soft and cute, like that was kind of soft and cute. The next one you could be like really fun and crazy with, and it's just going to be more of a kind of that bold, chaotic, I guess, that colorful and chaotic. Was that what it was? Um, So I'm not going to draw the heart again, but if I have a heart here, maybe I make it a little bit smaller. I'm going to do a sucker. So like a little red heart sucker, like, the kind like when you were a kid and it had like the plastic and you just rip that plastic off the top of it, that those cheap little ones. That's what this one will be. So I don't know if you remember when you would get those, they weren't like perfect hearts. They kind of were like rounded a little bit. Sometimes when that candy material melted, it wasn't like the perfect shape. So we could use that heart to kind of get that shape there. And so maybe on your paper where you're sketching with pencil, you could take that heart and be like, okay, I need to refine it a little bit and give it that more rounded shape. And that might be like just kind of like making sure that, oh, I have my assist on here, making sure it has like a little more dip here and maybe it comes up a little more here and it has just kind of more of that flowy kind of heart look to it, something like that. And so I might take that now. I'll just do a new layer above it. So this is like if I were tracing it with a light board. I like to do one layer and have a lower opacity and then a new layer above it. But then I could take that and make it not so perfect and kind of come around, and have like a little heart that doesn't have, it's not perfect. It just kind of is a little wobbly kind of looking lollipop, if you will. And then once you've done that, you want to draw the stick to it. So the stick, easy, super simple. I start up inside the heart and come down, and I just draw a straight line. And if you're not good at drawing straight lines, do not be afraid to use your rulers because that is totally fine. And then I just take and sort of round the bottom and then round the top as well. And I let that line stay there because, I mean, they're semi-transparent lollipops, and so you still would see that. And so when you're coloring it, you might make the heart red, but you might make the stick where it inserts to the lollipop pink, so it's like a little lighter shade or something, whereas this might be white when you were done. So you have that basic look there. The next thing we're going to do is make the wrapper. So as I taught you how to make ruffles on the last one, you're going to take a little bit of that and bring it into this part of it. So what you're doing is you're going to just draw a really loose kind of, this is what I mean by not needing drawing skills. Just draw a loose little square all the way around it. And then at the top and the bottom, we're going to create something like a ruffle, but we're going to do a little bit different technique to create that crinkly look. Because these suckers usually have like a vacuum, like I don't know what they call that. I guess it's a seal across the top and the bottom, and then it creates like a wrinkly top on them. So all we're doing is now taking and kind of creating a little bit of a wavy line. This time we're going to go all the way across. And this, again, doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, the less perfect, the better. It tends to look more natural that way. And same thing across the bottom. And it's clear wrapper, so it's okay to see the stick coming through. And then just like I showed you on the ruffles, how you have some things where it looks like the ruffles kind of like in the back and the ruffles kind of in the front. This is going to be somewhat similar in the fact that we're going to instead do small lines like this. And we're going to create just that illusion that you have that kind of crinkly edge to your little sucker. Like this. And again, because it is plastic, or I guess it is plastic, isn't it? Clear plastic. I like to sometimes just kind of create little, um, like if the plastic was sticking to each other, little bits like that. So then if we were to color this, I'll color this one in with you all, just so you can get an idea. Um, you could do something, I'm going to actually make the background a different color so you can see it, the colors that I use. I'll do this pink background. And for the lollipop, I might use red. And so my red would come in here just like this. And then my um, wrapper is going to get like a very pale white, almost like you want to see through it. And so for something like that, on my iPad, I can actually take it and fill in, right? But I can also reduce that opacity so it's not super, super dark. And then come in, do it across my stick here, maybe make these, actually what I would probably do with these is make these more of a darker white because this is where it would be sticking together. And so you can create something kind of bold and fun like that. And then my stick might be white. And actually, this would probably be more opaque or more transparent right here. There we go. Let's go ahead and do this side. So this little lighter color because we're seeing through it. And then where that little stick goes inside, we can go in and just do like a lighter color of the red and go in like that. So they make some sort of definition of it like that. So then you have like this kind of fun, bold, kind of cutesy little lollipop that you made from your heart. All right. And I would, like I said, I wish I could draw on here the way I draw at home because when I'm drawing, I have it up like this in my face more. So it can be a little bit of a challenge. And then we could add writing to it if we wanted to. We could come in and write on top of it with like, and I don't think I gave you guys a list of like this pen, but I will. They make a white opaque pen that's really, really great. And I will send that over. But you could take a white pen on top of your color stuff that you've done, and it's very I don't know, I love how opaque it is. Like it's very, you know, bold and vibrant of a white color. So you could write something like, you know, I'm a sucker for you. You know how those little candies used to have the for and the you or something like that. So you could definitely do something super cute like that with your Valentine's doodles. So that's number two. That's the second one that we're going to do with our heart. So we've done a cute little ruffle kind of in both ways. So you can see both of them. So the next one I want to do for you, where we're going to take the heart, make a heart lock, and then a key. I'm going to show you how to draw like a vintage key, which I thought would be perfect for Kappa. So I'm going to go ahead and just duplicate this one for a second so I don't have to redo some stuff. And I'm going to hide a few things. Okay, so we're going to go back to just our plain heart here that we've drawn. I'm going to make it a little smaller. And so I want to, if I'm on a regular sheet of paper, I want my heart to be on one side because I'm going to draw my key on the other side. So I want to give it a little bit of room. So this part is so easy as well. You can come in with your heart and now create that padlock look to it. And so to do that, all we're doing is just taking and creating like a U shape. And I have that assist on again, don't I? Let me turn that off. So I just draw a U shape that kind of comes around. And then another one that would come around like this. And I know I have different weighted lines, but you get the idea. So we have, for those who don't know, the camera's like literally where my left hand is. All right, so to do this next part, I like to add a little bit of detail inside my heart. And so this may be where you're like, oh gosh, this is where it's all gonna go wrong, trying to like make the perfect line around it and not have to redraw. And but you can take your time, come in and just create, you know, a little outline shape around the edges of your heart like this. Oops. And then all you have to do is come in and create the lock portion of it, which it's actually an upside down, or actually it's like a triangle with the top cut off of it, I guess is the best way to do it. And then the top would have like a little hole. So it's like your little keyhole to the lock itself. Now, the lock itself, you can actually do a lot of fun things with. You can come in and add little like, you know, swirls if you wanted, and little hearts inside, and just any kind of decoration to sort of make it look like, I know I look at like these vintage locks and they have like all this pretty like embossing metal to them, you know, where they've got these pretty decor on them. And this is actually one way having symmetry is kind of nice. And so if you don't have an iPad to do symmetry, like I told you with the light box, you could actually draw on one side and then flip it over and use it on your light box or a light source, and then kind of trace over and get that same pattern on both sides if you wanted to make something like that. So yeah, you can do all kinds of cute little fun things with it. I'm going to see if no, I can't. I'm going to just remove that for a second, but I'm going to show you something with symmetry just to kind of give you an idea. So we're going to do a new one. Turn on my drawing assist. And so I might come in and I might draw like a little heart up here, but then I want to take and create some sort of like fun swirl, and it's drawing it over here because I didn't move it. You guys, I tell you, I'm not with it. In this one, I'm going to move the little line where I want my symmetry to be. All right, let's try that again. So I can draw a heart so it shows up on both sides. And then I'm going to come in and just draw, some sort of swirly lines around. And I might draw some little dashes around like this. And then maybe there's like another heart here and some little dots just to kind of give it some fun character, if you will. So I look at it like, that it might be pretty red enamel on the outside, and this might be like a brass plate on top of it. And then it has that kind of embossed look to it. So now we have to make a key to open our lock. And so I'm going to show you how to make a cute little heart key that you could, put with it. So the best way to do a heart key, I'm going to do a new layer here, is I like to do the top of it to be like a heart. So those antique keys, you can do so many fun little designs with them. But for this one, I'm going to draw it straight up and down on mine and then move it if I need to, but you can do it more of a diagonal if you'd like. So it's kind of coming like this. Actually, I'll do it that way. So I'm going to come in. Actually, I'm going to draw more of a kind of bigger heart, if you will, just more kind of wider. And then I can come in and just sort of outline it like this. And that's going to be the top of my key. And then what I would do is come in and draw a line down underneath, one this way. And I'm going to go ahead and close it off here. Now I'm going to go ahead and draw like the little, I don't know what you call that part of the key, but it basically kind of comes down and then it might have like a little shape that looks like this. So you're coming down two sides, and you're going to go out, down, out, over. This sometimes can be messy and hard to do at first, but I'll do it one more time so you can kind of see what I did. So I just did two lines that came down, and then I'm going to do one out like this, one down like this. I'm going to come over. I'm not going to come all the way to the center of these two lines. I'm going to be more on this side. And then I can do the same thing on this side. And then come up on both. And then you can just kind of close it off like that. And so you create that little edge of your key. And so the next thing you could do then is maybe you want to just sort of erase away a piece here and just create cute little, I don't know what you call that, like a little decoration of it, maybe one on the end here as well. And so you can have two keys or have a key and a lock like this. And then I'm going to show you how to draw a bow. Bows are super popular. So what I am going to do is just do a new layer just so I don't mess up what I just did. And I'm going to show you how I might put it all together. Now the bow is going to be a little bit more advanced, but I think it's pretty easy the way I do it. And I can teach you how to do it. So I'm going to let's just hide these for now so you can really see what I'm doing. Let me turn off that drawing assist too. So what I do when I'm doing a bow is the first thing I do is and this is going to be one of those very loose, flowy bows, kind of like just like, I don't know, a little thin bow that's kind of flowy, not perfect in any way. And that's why I like it because it's very forgiving. But I'm going to start with doing the center, which would be like the knot portion of your bow. Think I might have a bow here to show you what I'm talking about. So like the center of your bow here. So I come in and just might just do something. Oh, hello, I got it on pink. Kind of more kind of flowing little rectangle. And this is where it doesn't have to be perfect. You can be very loose because these are not. I mean, if you look at your bows, they're very imperfect. The next thing is going to be to draw the two sides, which are going to be these two sides. And so this is what I like to do. I like to start right here on this one and then end up right here. So I'm going to come in and just draw something kind of flowy and loose like that. And sometimes the bigger and floppy they are, the better. It just depends. Okay, so now we're going to do the inside, but we're going to make it look like the ribbon sort of twisted. So this is where it gets kind of fun. Um, all you do, I'm going to do it a couple times for you so it catches on, is I'm going to come in towards about the center of where that little knot is. Come in. I'm going to let it touch the edge of my bow, and then I'm going to come down and just do something like that. So that little touch there makes it look like it's twisted when you've tied the ribbon itself. Um, I'll show you some in my portfolio here that are a little more polished. But then we would do the same thing on the other side, but it doesn't have to be perfect like this one because again, it's just a ribbon you've tied. It's not going to be perfect. And so we're going to draw up, kind of around, and like that. And then to repeat that, just so you can see, again, I'm kind of starting in the middle right about here and kind of ending right here. I'm just taking that, coming in, I'm touching the edge, coming around, and then just kind of coming in like that. So you've got that kind of fun, loose little bow. So then the next step on drawing is going to make the little tails. And so there's a couple things you do. You can keep it simple. You can keep it very simple by coming down and then coming down like this, and then just making like a little V, if you will. Or we could even go as far as making it look like it's twisted too. This is, again, a little bit more advanced. So those of you who like to draw, hopefully this works for you. I do the same kind of thing I do up here. Now, when I'm drawing these for real, I'm going kind of fast and flowy when I'm doing them. So I just let what happens happens. And so to draw that, I just might kind of come down and make something like that. And then as I'm doing the other side, I'm letting it cross over and then coming in and making that. And so then it looks like it's twisted. The little ribbon is twisted around. So there's a few ways you can do that. You can, and the more you play and the more you just like let your hands just do it and you're not overthinking it, the more interesting and unique some of your little bows will come out. And bows are really hot right now. That's what we're seeing on everything these days. So having a lot of fun. And you may decide, I want my edge to be, straight. I don't want it to be like that. So you can have kind of, you know, fun with what you're doing. So I'm going to just draw another little bow that might connect my padlock up here. And so I'm doing it another layer. So you may decide you want to do this with pencil first and sketch it all out and then ink over the top on a new sheet of paper, because sometimes I do that and then it gets real messy underneath before I get to the final, and that is perfectly fine. But for something like that, I might just come up here and decide, okay, I want my bow to sort of come here, right? Like my knot of my bow. And then I would just kind of draw something like this, come in, let it touch and come around. Hello. My fingers do not want to do anything today. There we go. And then on this side, same kind of thing, like this. And then I might take my little ribbons and come around and just sort of connect them and let them do whatever. Maybe this one doesn't fold. Maybe this one just kind of goes out like this. And then this one might kind of come around like this. And then whatever I decide with my ribbon, I can now go underneath on my padlock and just either erase away on my iPad, or like I said, you could sketch it all out like this, erase away some pieces, get it kind of where you want it to look. And then when you take it to your light box or your light source and you want to trace over it, you can clean it up and not leave those on there. But on my iPad, it makes it pretty easy to come in and just erase away parts that I don't want showing. Like my ribbon's kind of on the top of it there. Maybe right there. I did a pretty good job not getting it over too many of them. And so then now I can take my key if I wanted. I could take my key and even put it up here and just lay it on top of it. I'm just going to set mine to the side so it's not too complicated. So then you have something super cute and doodly that's like your little padlock with your heart and a key that you can do. And now you know how to make a bow too. which I think is fun. Another way to make a bow, I'll show you really quickly, that you could do not so loose like that, would be more like kind of like the sample I showed you, where you may have like the center, and then maybe you have more of like a bow like this. And then you might want to come in and create these little loops, if you will. This, and then you have more of a bolder bow, like so. Oh, I didn't mean to do that one that way. And then you have something like that. So bows are another thing I like to just doodle across the page all the time. Right? Sometimes kind of takes over my pages. A polka dot you could do on your bow as well. If you've never drawn polka dots before, the easiest thing I can tell you to do is to do them in rows. And so for instance, I'll start up here. So you could do like a dot, a dot, a dot, and you might space them across whatever you're filling in. And then the next thing you would do, you're able to see that. Okay, let's see. The next thing you could do is then come down on the next row and you would just do it in between like this. And then you would just repeat that top row like so. So that's kind of the best way to create a polka dot. And so on, like, say my bow down here, I might make a bigger dot. Maybe I'm going to go the first row and I might not see it across here because, my bow is lower here. But then I would do my next one down because it's kind of where it would be on that next row. And then kind of filling in my dots this way. And then my next one would probably kind of come down here. Same thing about here. And then just kind of filling in. Sometimes you have to add a little extra just to kind of make it look like a little more real. But then you can create a little polka dotted bow if you wanted. I love doing bows. They're so fun. So that is the third one that we did. I'll show you a couple of quick little, like something like this with a bow you can do where you have more of your outline can be less less like obvious and just do small little lines around to give the illusion that there's some fold and some that kind of thing to it as well. This was another little set I did where I did the little sucker and I just did it on a black background so you can kind of see where I instead of filling in the wrapper I just did can't get it on there. Instead of filling in the wrapper I just did that whole outline as white like that. Little bows. Here's another fun shape of a bow where it's just kind of more up. Yeah, so sometimes this is what my doodling looks like by the time I'm done. After I've done sketching everything, it looks like something like this with just a whole lot of little things that just kind of make, I don't know, they end up being fun. And then I can take stuff like this and I could make like a greeting card like for Valentine's, or I can, make fabric pattern designs, which is what I sell on my Etsy shop. Or buttons, buttons are super popular. I like to make little buttons for my niece and nephew with this kind of stuff, or stickers, even stickers. So that is pretty much the whole idea behind the hearts and the doodling and just having fun with it. And I hope just by you watching me and me doing it live, you see like I'm not like I'm not a perfectionist in any way as far as where did I go? Where did my flourish? In the way that I draw until I get to the final result. My final piece that I go in and I trace and clean over tends to be like my perfection, my ready to go. So this sometimes is drawn about 20 times before I get it exactly where I like it. But if you're just having fun doodling in your notebooks or your little planners or things like that, remember they don't have to be perfect. It's just for you and for fun and just to explore your creativity. So that is pretty much it. Did anybody have any questions about anything I was doing?
Yes, I was gonna say if anybody wanted to drop some questions in the chat after I mean, if anybody want, if people feel comfortable, we were going to take a photo of everybody's doodles tonight, so we were going to do that before the
Oh,
Q&A
cute. I want to see.
section, and then take the photo, then Q&A, and then the final giveaway of the night. If that sounds good to you, Holly, if we can
I
take the
would love that. I would love that. I'm gonna if you don't have questions about, do you have questions for me drawing?
I'll
Because then if not,
let people
I
drop
can't.
them in the chat
Okay.
while we get started with if people want to put on their camera and show their doodle, if you feel comfortable, that would be great. But we can oh my goodness, everybody's looks so
Oh my gosh,
good. Oh
I
my goodness.
love.
This is so exciting. We're gonna put a little post together for tomorrow for members to see because Holly's doing tomorrow's Flourish event too.
Oh, I love it. Isn't it fun just to be creative? And everything I showed you, you can decorate them in so many different ways. One heart can be so many things. I love it. Oh, I love it.
Oh my gosh, yay. Okay, good
So
job.
cute. Oh, I
Yay.
like how you did your bow there with your little polka dots and it's cute. Oh, that was Maggie's. Yes.
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, it turned out so good. Everybody's looks so wonderful. If anybody has any questions for Holly, we can ask her some of that. The giveaway we're about to do the who Maggie just asked, we're about to do that one, so don't worry, you haven't missed it yet. But if anybody has any questions for Holly, if not, we can start with the giveaway next. There was one question about does Procreate connect to Adobe Creative Suite, Holly?
It's completely different. So Procreate is its own app, its own company, but it is a vector-based app like Photoshop. So if you're familiar with Photoshop, it works very similar. So I can take what I do in Procreate, if I do layers, so I like to do my colors on different layers, I can actually import it into Photoshop and see all my layers. So I can export a Photoshop file. Or I can bring it into Adobe Illustrator and it has all my layers so that I can vectorize them for whatever I need. So it has that capability to work really well across each other. But it is pixel based. Did I say vector based before? It's pixel based like Photoshop. So it's not scalable like you would if you were drawing in Adobe Illustrator. So if you're familiar with that, that probably makes sense. If you're not, then you're probably like, what is she saying?
Thank you.
And
Uh,
and I've had Procreate for probably like 6 years now, and it just gets better and better. So, it's fun.
where can we find your stuff again?
So, okay, the probably the best place to find it would be at hollymckeg.com because then you can see like my portfolio, my Instagram. You can even find a link to like Aspen Lark where I sell my sorority stuff. I told Sophie I'd give you guys a coupon code to use as well if you want. So I'll send that over. No, I'm just a little plug. I'm not trying to push that, but and I also have my Etsy shop linked on there as well for my patterns. So I sell like the things I illustrate as repeat patterns. And so people can print them as fabric, like at Spoonflower or something like that, and sew their own clothes or, bags or whatever they like. So, yeah.
Yes. Tomorrow we're gonna put the coupon code that Holly is giving us for Aspen Lark in the wrap-up email. So you'll be able to get it there. And then Whitney's dropped in the chat her Instagram handles and different websites so that you
Yes,
can also
yes.
grab those too. Do you recommend a small sketchbook type or any old paper?
Yeah, you know what? Okay. When I first started, I used to just love to go to the dollar store and buy cheap sketch pads, right? I was not doing anything fancy. I wasn't using those for anything. It was just for fun for me. And so, like when you all saw my little chihuahua on my iPad, I buy a new one and I do like my daily Lola. And I would take Lola and draw her as little like characters, like one where she's, just getting out of the shower and she's got the shower cap on and the little robe and the little ducky, slippers. And it was just something fun for me to do in a cheap little sketchbook. So if you're just starting, I just do that. Don't invest too much money. The micron pin is, I think, a must though. And these micron pins, you can buy them in packs bigger than just like single pieces. You can buy some of the packs that have the different point sizes. So if you want to get different weight lines when you're drawing, this was I think a 0.08, which I love. It's a little thicker, but you can get really thin ones there. I would invest in these. these are kind of nice to have for inking, if you ask me. But yeah, that's as easy it can be. And then when you decide, like, hey, this is something I really love doing, and maybe you want to explore a different medium. Maybe you want to take your sketches and your doodles and do watercolor. You can sketch on beautiful watercolor paper and start watercoloring those things as well. My brother does oils and he like oil painting, and so he sketches on his canvas with a pencil, just like we did on paper, and then he'll go in with his oil and go in and paint. So yeah, there's so many different levels you could do. So
Yay. And then the last question is, which you said earlier, would you be able to share your collection of doodles for more inspiration for their,
sure.
and we can get that out to you guys
The
tomorrow.
last one I shared, you mean with all the Valentine stuff? Was that the one?
Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
that was. Yeah, I can send that over. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
actually, yeah, I had, I don't think I have that on Instagram. I don't think I do. I'll send that over though.
Thank you.
Sometimes I get carried away and I just don't post to social. I'm kind of bad about that. So I wish I could hire somebody to do that, but I'm not there.
Forget what's coming up next. On February 19th, we have a meaningful estate planning conversation with Tiana Ronstadt and a book club on March 5th with Rachel Upshaw for her new book, Greek Lovers, which is going to be your next favorite beach read. You'll find all the links to the upcoming events and Holly's event tomorrow in the chat now and on the Kappa website, so be sure to save your spot. Thank you again for being a part of Flourish tonight. We can't wait to gather with you again very soon. Until next time, good night, sisters, and happy Galentine's Day. This was so